Hey folks, and welcome to my review looking back at the weekend's Russian Grand Prix. A fantastic Grand Prix from start to finish, plenty of drama. Um, and the top two drivers no doubt will have taken where they finished, considering the Saturdays that they had or where they started from on race day. So your top three of Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, and Carlos Sainz. But had the race stayed dry, I think we could have been looking at a whole different podium altogether. But I have to start and I have to begin by saying that my heart really does go out to Lando Norris. I thought he did a phenomenal job in qualifying on Saturday, putting the car on pole, and he deserved it. McLaren have made fantastic progress this season, really continuing where they've left off from last season, and you know what they were able to achieve at Monza. I think they were really on a high, and they're able to take that into qualifying, and yeah, fantastic lap from Lando, putting the car on pole. And then on race day, yes, Carlos Sainz did get by the Brit on the opening lap, but then Norris was still able to keep within a distance within Sainz, so it wasn't didn't let the Spaniard go. And then yeah, really, I think it was lap 13, lap 14. Norris was able to get by his former teammate, and then really when he was out in front, it he looked really comfortable. And yes, in the closing stages, he just before the rain came down, yes, no, Lewis was getting close to him, but I still had the impression that even at that point, I felt that Lando had it under control, and I think he would have, had it not rained, I think Lando would have gone on to win the race. And as as soon as the rain came, as soon as he made that decision, well, as soon as he decided to try and stick it out, I think unfortunately, I think it was only going to end one way, and unfortunately, we saw him spin when the track was getting wet, and yeah, he unfortunately then had to pit late on, and your heart just really felt for him because he did everything right throughout the whole weekend, from qualifying, to the race, the majority of the race where he was leading, and he did everything right. It's just the rain just came down at the wrong time. But that is Formula One, and these things happen. But what I will say is that Lando's time will come. He will win race, and you know what? I went back against him winning a race this year. The progress that he has made, particularly this year, has been staggering, and I've been so impressed with Lando. And I think it's only a matter of time. It's not a case of if, it's when Lando wins his first race. So whilst obviously it would have been heartbreak for Lando on race day, there are so many positives that he can take, and the fact that McLaren made the progress that they have made, I think, as I said with Lando, it's not a case of if, it's when. McLaren get back to even more winning ways. Obviously, we saw them win brilliantly in Monza. Daniel Ricciardo taking a great win. I'm going to come on to talk about Daniel soon. In fact, now actually. But yeah, Lando, fantastic performance throughout the whole weekend. Just unfortunately, just wasn't able to cling on for the win in very difficult conditions for everyone at the end. But Lando will win the race, and as I said, I think it could be this season. The progress that he's made this year, I won't be surprised if he wins this season. I mentioned about Daniel Ricciardo. You know, whilst he didn't have a strong weekend as Lando, it was another good weekend for the Australian. Qualifying strongly in qualifying to finish fifth, and then really in the race as well, he looked really competitive. Was able to keep Lewis behind for quite some time. And then yeah, played a very good team game for McLaren as well. So yeah, another solid job from Daniel Ricciardo, and yeah, he definitely has come back a stronger, I think, driver in the second half of the season, and full marks to him. No credit to the Australian, and we know that we know he had a difficult and slow start to his life as a McLaren driver, but I really do think now we're going to see the best of Daniel at McLaren, and obviously no doubt that win at Monza will have given him a massive lift as well. And yeah, I think and he was able to definitely build on that and take that into Russia. Whilst might not have been a podium, still finishing fourth is a great result for him. And yeah, really good weekend for one good week. Well, one good half of the McLaren garage will no doubt have been really happy with Dan Ricciardo. And whilst it was gut wrenching for Lando Norris in the end, he can take so many positives, and McLaren as well take so many positives away from the weekend in Russia, and no doubt they will be looking to bounce back massively in Turkey, and I think potentially that could be a track that suits them as well. So yeah, I think McLaren will have another strong weekend in Turkey. But I guess we've got to come on to talk about Lewis Hamilton. Massive congratulations to Lewis Hamilton on 100 race wins in Formula One. A phenomenal achievement. I don't think anyone who starts out in Formula One, I don't think they ever think to themselves that I'm going to achieve 100 race wins in Formula One. But Lewis has done it, and you know what? He absolutely deserves it. You know, he's worked incredibly hard. He's grafted to get to where he is. And, you know, sometimes there have been decisions where, you know, the decision that he's made and people have questioned, you know, admittedly. I was one of those who questioned his decision to join Mercedes at the time that he did. But look how it's turned out. But yeah, great drive. Well, good drive from Lewis. Bit of a frustrating Saturday, no doubt, for him, only managing fourth in qualifying. Got away with that small incident they had in pit lane on Saturday. Yes, he wasn't able to put the car on pole, and then he really got off to a poor start on Sunday. Didn't get off to the best of starts, but at the same time, you have to be in the best positions to if you're going to win races. You need to be in the best position to pounce if someone out in front of you makes a mistake or yeah, makes a mistake. So Lewis was in prime position to pounce and take his 100th win in Formula One. So yeah, many congratulations to Lewis Hamilton and I suppose Valtteri Bottas. I really thought Valtteri was would have been in with a chance of a win at the weekend. Obviously, they took the engine change on Sunday. Had they not done that with Valtteri, I think the thing would have been in contention to win the race. I really do because we know he goes well at Russia. So as I say, I think he would have been in contention to win, but it wasn't to be. But even so, not a bad drive I think it was started from 16th to end up finishing 5th, so not a bad drive for Valtteri. Bit fortuitous and, was able to, one of those drivers who's able to benefit from the weather at the end of the race. But as I said with Lewis, you have to, if someone else having misfortune or has made a mistake, you need to pounce on those, and Valtteri was able to do that. So yeah, good haul of points for Mercedes. But I think one of the drivers who would have no doubt benefited, who benefited on Sunday, who would have left Sochi with a big smile on his face, would have been Max Verstappen. Starting from the back of the grid on Sunday, he probably wouldn't have believed you if he said to him that he'd finish second come the end of race day. But you know what, Max will take it. He will definitely take it. And there were parts of the race where he was a bit frustrated, but you could understand why. But as a Max, as I say, finishing second, he no doubt will take that result, and he only trails Lewis Hamilton by 2 points in the drivers' standings. 7 races to go. Considering how close it is, I really think this drivers' championship is going to go down to the wire, right down to Abu Dhabi, and as neutrals, as fans, that's what we want. So yeah, I thought Max actually, you know what, he did a great job. You can only, give him credit for the fact that, yeah, coming from 20th to finishing second, yes, it did rain in the closing stages. But yeah, really good drive from Max, and massive haul of points, a big haul of points, unexpected points for the Dutchman as they headed into the Turkish Grand Prix. On the other side of the Red Bull garage for Sergio Perez, I think he was one of those drivers who like Lando tried to stay out and yeah, try and make the intermediates, sorry, the mediums work, but he was just really, it was just like Bambi on ice. And then yeah, Checo really struggled in the closing stage, but Checo was looking to like he was going to finish on the podium. But and to be fair to Checo, I thought he had a really good race, and through well, you could argue that the fact that he tried to stick it out in the end, maybe no, he perhaps he should have come in earlier for the intermediates. But I think also with the fact that the Red Bull he had that slow pit stop as well, that definitely didn't help, because had he not had that slow pit stop, he would have got out in front of Carlos Sainz and also Daniel Ricciardo as well, and he would have had, I think, that at least 3 or 4 second margin ahead of Sainz. Had the pit stop gone well. So yeah, I really did feel for Checo actually, because I think he did everything right. Strategy was, for he could over 3 quarters of the race. No, Checo did everything right and did what was asked of him. But really unfortunate that he ended up finishing ninth in the race. But if there's one track that he want to bounce back at, it's Turkey. Obviously, we saw him finish on the podium last year, with racing points. So yeah, I think Checo, although as I say he finished low down the field on Sunday, I think he can still take positives from the way that he performed on race day. And yeah, so that is Red Bull. Carlos Sainz, going to talk about him. Really good weekend for the Spaniard. I think I was really impressed with the job that he did in qualifying. Yeah, really good job from Carlos Sainz. Now finishing second in qualifying on Saturday, and then got off to a really good start on race day. Obviously, getting by Lando Norris to take the lead, but yeah, once Lando was able to get by on race day, wasn't really then able to keep up with him. But Carlos, as you know, he did a good job. You have to give him credit for the job that he did, and Ferrari did as well. And yeah, really good job from Carlos Sainz. Difficult race for Charles Leclerc, although it was looking good for Charles at one point for him to score some really solid points, but like Checo, like Lando as well, just got caught out in the end with the wet conditions, and yeah, really unfortunate that for Charles. But in large parts of that races, Charles actually looked good, and the pace of the Ferrari looked pretty good as well. So I think that battle for third in construct between Ferrari and McLaren, I think will definitely go down to the wire for sure. So yeah, not a bad weekend at all for Carlos Sainz, and a good weekend for the Spaniard. Speaking of Spaniards, Fernando Alonso, another good weekend for Fernando. Keeps up his point streak with for Alpine, and more good points for Alpine as well. And Fernando definitely showed his battling qualities on race day. Good lap in qualifying on Saturday to make it into Q3, and yeah, solid weekend for Alpine. I think we're going to see a lot. Well, I think we're going to continue to see a lot more of those weekends for Fernando between now and the end of the season. So didn't get off. I wouldn't say best of starts, but it's a slow start to being back at Alpine. But yeah, he's definitely been able to put in a really good yeah, point sequence together, and good performances, and yeah, it's turning out to be a decent season for Fernando Alonso, and with obviously with new regulations coming in next season, really intrigued to see how Fernando performs next year. I think a lot of us are really excited to see what Fernando can do for Alpine. And I just wanted to give a couple more shout outs actually to Kimi Raikkonen, returning to Formula One after having tested positive for COVID, but yeah, it didn't have the best of qualifyings. But like, as a few more other drivers, Kimi was one of those drivers who was able to benefit from the wet conditions at the end of the race, and yes, score some decent points for him, but also for Alfa Romeo as well. Still think it's going to be very difficult for Alfa Romeo to get past Williams in the constructors now. I'm going to talk about Williams in a bit. But yeah, really good points for Kimi Räikkönen, and good to see him back in the points as well, because it has been a difficult season and difficult year, not just for Kimi but also for Alpha as well. But yeah, really good to see them in the points. And then finally, I guess we have to end with George Russell. So another points finish for him, for Williams, and a phenomenal lap from George in qualifying and to put the car on third. And yeah, he actually no race day was a bit of a struggle. I think it was always going to be a bit of a struggle for George to keep a lot of quicker cars behind him. But in the first part of the race, you have to say George did a really good job. Keeping the likes of Lance Stroll, who by the way, Lance made a fantastic start to the race on Sunday, but wasn't able to convert that strong start into a points finish, unfortunately for Lance and Aston Martin. But coming back onto George, yeah, really good week, good qualifying on Saturday. Wasn't able to quite convert it into a stronger result, but still, even then, a couple more points for Williams. And you know what? Ever since Williams scored their first points, they've just gone on. They've just had those races where it's just given those. Sorry, that first race where they scored points this year, they've just built on it, haven't they? They really have built on it, taken a lot of confidence from that. And Williams have definitely made some great improvements this year. They deserve to be where they are right now. And with a line of Latifi and also Albon next year, a good young lineup. I think good times are ahead for Williams. I think exciting times as well. So yeah, not a bad weekend for Williams at all, and more points. So that is the end of my review of the Russian Grand Prix, a cracking Russian Grand Prix. And yeah, my next preview will be looking at to the Turkish Grand Prix. So hope you all enjoyed the Russian Grand Prix, and I will catch up with all you guys and girls when I do my preview for the Turkish Grand Prix. Take care, everyone.